Hey VC, how's it going? Right, okay, Vinyl Tag 2021. I've been watching everybody's Vinyl Tags videos over the last week or so, and they've all been great, all been really interesting. So I've got the 20 questions, so here goes. Right, so the first one, a 2020 discovery. Right, so not just, well, not so much an album in particular, but more a genre. So I've always been into hip hop, but only really that late 80s, early 90s period of hip hop. I've always been a bit limited with my listening, whereas back in probably the beginning of December, a local shop got in around 5,000 hip hop albums and 12 inches. So I was able to pick up a few, and it's brought my listening a little bit more up to date. So for example, this is Jurassic 5 with their album Quality Control. It's from 2000, so it's only 20 years old as opposed to 30 years old. So there you go, that's progress right there. Right, okay, a quarantine buy. So this is something I picked up back in May, June time. This is Creation Rebel with Starship Africa. Now, I was listening to a lot of On You Sounds, Adrian Sherwood productions, and this is from 1980, I think. So this must be one of his first productions. Now, I don't know what the original tapes sounded like, the original recordings by Creation Rebel, but I'm pretty sure they don't sound anything like this. So he's basically manipulated the music, added effects. He's brought in other musicians to re-record parts and add parts as well. And it's just a massive, it's a monster of a dub album. It's absolutely wonderful. I say, I knew of it, I never heard it, and I say over the last 6 months, it's fast become one of my favourite dub records. So yeah, really nice stuff. And just actually on the subject of this particular copy, the collection that I came from, the previous owner, he would cut out reviews from Black Echoes magazine and stick them to the inner bag. So that's quite a nice touch as well. So I've got a few of those. Right, an LP that I want to find in 2021. Well, again, not so much an LP. This is Terence Trent D'Arby's Symphony or Damn. This is his third album. I'm a big fan of the first four records that he made, but were put out on a major label. So this came out in 1993. I've had the CD since then, but I saw this come up on eBay pretty cheap. Well, it was very cheap on vinyl, so I picked it up. But what I didn't realise at the time was that the first 12 tracks on the album are on LP. But the final 4 tracks, it's a 16-track album, were on an additional 7-inch. This includes the LP, but not the 7-inch. So in 2021, I'm determined to find the rest of this album. So there you go. Right, okay, a box set. Now, during the course of last year, I've seen quite a few people show this album, which is Gil Scott-Heron's I'm New Here, which came out 2010. But Mackay McCraven put out a reimagining or a reworking of that album last year, which a lot of people showed in the VC. But I've never shown anybody show this. This came out in 2011. I think it came out for Record Store Day. Now, this is a remix of the Gil Scott-Heron album done by Jamie XX. And it's a box set. It's split over 2 LPs. It's got both LPs on CD as well. And there's a booklet and stuff. But yeah, it's really nicely done. I really like the mix of it as well. It's basically sort of electronic dubstep version. Check it out if you're interested. I'd definitely recommend it, but a really nice box set as well. So yeah, cool.
I know you've been hurt by someone else. I can tell by the way you carry yourself. But if you let me, here's what I do. I've loved and I've lost.
Something a bit different. Right, a concept album. So a soul concept album. This is Davey Porter and Victim of the Joke. Now this came out on Stax Records. Yeah, Stax. I'd check then. I think 1972, something like that. 1974, sorry. Now, David Porter was obviously one half of the songwriting partnership with Isaac Hayes. So together they wrote all those great Sam and Dave tunes like Soul Man and, you know, Hold On I'm Coming, that sort of stuff. But yeah, this is a really nice record. Got a couple of cover versions on here, which are probably the weakest on the album. It does a version of Help by the Beatles, which I've never been too impressed by, but the rest of the album is very good. Okay. Right, an album where an artist changed in direction. So this is Primal Scream. This is their album from 1994, Give Out But Don't Give Up. This is a real sort of Stones influenced record, you know, songs like Rocks or Jailbird. I've got a real Rolling Stones vibe going on. But the follow-up to that from 97 is Vanishing Point. Now this is a total change of direction. It's got a real, it's clearly influenced by krautrock, soundtracks, dub, ambient music. It's a great listen. This is actually the first part of the trilogy of records that they made in the late 90s into the early 2000s, but very different to the album that came before it. But yeah, great stuff. Okay, a white label promo. So this is 100 Proof Asian Soul. It's a soul album from 1970. This is a Canadian pressing. Yeah, really nice, just a straight soul record. It's put out on Buddha Records, and there's the white label. Right, a compilation. So this is a compilation on Atlantic, and this is just old school R&B. It's called Classic Rhythm and Blues, and features the likes of Laverne Baker, Ruth Brown, Ray Charles, Clyde McPhatter. But yeah, I found this last year only for a couple of quid, and it's a cracking rhythm and blues album. Right, an album that tells a story. So rather than me telling a story about finding records, this is an album that literally tells a story. This is Nilsson and his album The Point. Now, I think this is a soundtrack to a TV animation. I think so anyway, from the early 70s. This is from 72 or 73, I think. I've had this album for years. Narrated by Nilsson, and features his music as well. Songs such as Me and My Arrow, I think is probably the best known on this. But yeah, really nicely done. It comes with a booklet as well, an illustrated booklet, which is quite interesting. But I play this album to my little boy. So this one, it's either this one or Peter and the Wolf. That's the other one that I play to him a lot. So there you go. Right, okay. An EP, right. I've got quite a few jazz EPs, and these sort of things don't get much attention at all in the VC. And you find these quite easily, and they're always cheap. So these are 3 EPs by Chris Barber. So, and it's very much sort of Dixieland, traditional jazz, and they're all in lovely condition, and they literally cost me pennies. You know, I think I might have paid 30 pence each for them. And you find them now and again, and they're always cheap because no one seems to want them, which is a real shame. But the music is just beautiful. So yeah, there you go. A girl group, very easy, the Marvelettes. This is their album on Tamla. Features Barefoot in their version of that, but also The Hunter Gets Captured by the Game, which is a Motown classic, so really nice. And there's the label there on Tamla. Right, an album cover that you love. Now, I've shown this recently. I did a Barry White video. This is Gloria Scott, as produced by Barry White. And I just love the image on that sleeve there. So just the look on her face, the colours used, you know, with the eye makeup and a sweater. Really nice stuff. But I think a as an indication of what the music sounds like, I think that is absolutely perfect. So there you go. Right, okay, a common album and an uncommon album. So first of all, a common album, Fleetwood Mac's Rumours. I think most people will have a copy of this, and with good reason, because it is an absolute classic. I listened to this again last night and it still sounds as good as the day that I first heard it as a young kid. Yeah, one of my favourite records. There you go. Stevie Nicks' vocal, and this is Stevie Wonder. Stevie Nicks' vocals on this are absolutely gorgeous. Her voice changed over time. It got a little bit more drony, but on those first two Fleetwood Mac albums, the White Fleetwood Mac album and this one, her voice, you know, is just incredible. So yeah, there you go. And an uncommon album, and perhaps with good reason, is this. This is a Learn to Dance album. It's called Do the Hustle. So if you want to do the American hustle, the Latin hustle, the rope hustle, the hustle cha, the tango hustle, the bump, the walk, or the foxy trot, then this is the record for you. But yeah, I think it's a double as well. There you go. But yeah, somebody giving you instructions of how to do all those dances. So.
Tap together, tap. 1, 2, 3. Very good. Now for the girls that are having a little bit of a problem. Come on, girls, here we go. Right foot first. Remember, the weight stays on your left leg. It's just opposite of the man's part. Go. Right, together, left. 1, 2, 3.
Right, okay. An album that I've listened to most would probably be this. This is Queen's album, Sheer Heart Attack, 1974. It's their third record. Basically, when I was a kid, I was sort of 9 or 10, my parents moved house, so I had to move schools. And I started at a new school, and obviously it's hard to fit in, isn't it? You know, so over lunchtime I used to walk home, listen to the first side of this record, and then walk back to school. So, little geeky kid. But yeah, so probably the first side of this record I've listened to more than any other record. So there you go. Right, okay. An album that you had to get an original copy of. Well, I don't say I had to get an original, but I do have an original of this, and I bought this quite recently. This is Donald Byrd and Spaces and Places. I think I suppose the point this question is trying to make is, you know, if you're looking for an original record or something, original pressing of something, it's because the album is good. And this is one of my favourite jazz albums. So, you know, I suppose in theory, I don't mind paying a little bit more for an original pressing. If it sounds good and it's in great condition, then I would do for a reissue. But quite often, I mean, this question is a bit funny, really, because quite often you can find original copies of original pressings of records cheaper than the price of the reissues nowadays. But depends on what you're looking for, of course. But yeah, that's an OG there. Right, an album that needs a vinyl pressing on a CD. So yeah, so this is Gillian Welch and her album Time the Revelator. Now, she started putting out some of her albums on vinyl a couple of years ago. I know The Harrow and the Harvest came out on vinyl, and the pressing was absolutely stunning. So I think it's the 20th anniversary of this album this year, so I'm really hoping that they do a similar job with this album. But yeah, this is it's a classic record, so yeah, really good stuff. Okay, the last album I purchased. Now, in my best of 2020 video, I showed Corner Shop's England is a Garden. Now, this is their album from 1997, when I was born for the 7th time. This features Sleep on the Left Side, Brimful of Asher, which was obviously number 1 over here. But if you haven't heard it, check out their version of Norwegian Wood, the Beatles tune. It's a gorgeous version. It's sung in Punjabi, and yeah, I understand it's just a straight translation of the lyric, but it really does work. So yeah, see what you think. An album that they don't get, right? So these next two records, so an album that they don't get and a 2020 reissue, either of these albums would fit either question. So I'm saying an album that they don't get is this one, Kevin Rowland's and My Beauty. Now, this came out in, I think, 1999, and it's basically a covers album. It sold absolutely nothing. I think it sold 500 copies. Lost a load of money for Creation Records. But being Kevin Rowland, it's absolute genius. So obviously the cover image didn't help sell records, I don't think. And particularly as he turned up at the Glastonbury Festival dressed like this for his performance and got bottled off. But it's a covers album, and the opening track, The Greatest Love of All. I mean, I listened to this the other day and I was properly choked up. So yeah, I don't think he can do no wrong. Kevin Rowland, yeah, definitely a genius. Right, okay, and the other one, which I'm gonna put in the bracket of 2020 reissue, but is also an album that I didn't get, is Prince and the Rainbow Children. One of my favourite Prince albums. So it came out middle of last year as a reissue. A brilliant reissue. The pressing's beautiful, but the album, it's great because it's Prince doing exactly what he wanted to do. It's not him trying to have a hit single. It's just him making music that he wanted to make, and from start to finish. I mean, bizarrely, it never even got a release at the time in the UK. You can only get it on import on CD. So to think that an artist of Prince's stature couldn't even get a record release in this country at that point, 20 years ago, is absolutely ridiculous. But if you haven't heard it and you're a Prince fan and you like his music, I can't recommend that one enough. A punk album. I think this is the last question, is it? Yep, right. A punk album. I was going to go with X-Ray Specs. I was going to go with Stiff Little Fingers' first record, but instead I've gone for more of a pop punk sound, and that is Can't Stand the Rezillos by the Rezillos, and this includes their absolutely wonderful single Top of the Pops. So there you go. That's my 20. I think I've done them all. I think that's them all. Yeah, that's my 20 answers. So yeah, cheers.